Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Tim and welcome to the first segment of the Ask Dr. Tim show. As I said in my intro video, that I'll be bringing some great information about online dating, relationships, and we're going to kick things off by talking about what it's like to be a successful single woman out there on the dating scene. And I'm really excited to be joined by Tara, Randine, and Tamara, who are going to give us all sorts of insights on what it's like to be out there in the dating world. So I want to thank you guys so much for being here and taking the time to join me on the kickoff.
Thanks, Tim.
I'm going to dive right in. Who's got it worse out there, men or women?
Women.
Why?
Because men do not know how to treat a lady.
Is it all about treatment, Randine?
I think so.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think.
Is it about how they approach it, or?
The approach is a major one.
Okay.
Like the initial introductions on how men come out and try and ask you actually on a date, or how they treat you on the date.
Mm-hmm.
There's red flags everywhere.
Okay.
I think it's nurture. Mothers coddle their children.
Okay. Okay. Tara, what about you? What's your experience been? Is it women have it much worse?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's frustrating. You don't even know who's actually out there anymore. Like realistically,
Okay.
you don't know if someone's single or not. Everyone's so dependent on not talking to other people that it's hard to actually go up to somebody and have a conversation with them. And I think there's a level of respect with that. And I think being 25, the younger generation, like we're so reliant on technology for meeting people nowadays,
Right.
that it's hard to actually initially just go up and say hello to someone.
Okay. Tamara, what about you?
I'd agree that women have it more difficult, but I think men have maybe perhaps always looked at dating in a different way than women do, and I don't know that people are really that honest with themselves about the agenda or the intent behind it. And I think that men that I've met and men that I've spoken with often look at dating as a dispensable experience, whereas women aren't necessarily always looking at it that way.
Okay, so you feel like, are guys more cavalier about it than women? Women are take it a little bit more seriously? Is that a big difference? Interesting. Okay. I had a client, and I want your responses to this statement. He came in and he's just getting back into the dating world. So I want a woman's opinion on what he had to say about women, single women that are dating. I'm going to refer to my notes because I want to get it as accurate as possible. I think single dating women are selfish. They seem too self-absorbed and have wildly unrealistic expectations that can sabotage your date before it starts. And it's another, what he calls a double D, disaster date. What do you think? Do you think single women are getting self-absorbed?
There is expectations out there, but
okay.
I mean,
and what are they? And what are they?
They're not over the moon. We're not asking for red carpet treatment. We're asking for a man to be a gentleman, to walk up to the door and open the door for us.
Yeah.
To when pull out our seat, a little chivalry is required. So those expectations, I don't think that they're
wildly unrealistic.
No.
If anything, I think men's expectations are unrealistic in some sense. It's like I buy you a cup of coffee or like a dinner, or we go do a date, and then you're expected to maybe give them a kiss or go home with them.
Or a little bit more.
There's no
Exactly.
Prince Charming anymore.
Yeah. Tamara, do you agree? Do you think single women are getting a little bit self-absorbed?
No, I don't think they're self-absorbed. I think that there's a sense of frustration as expressed in that comment.
Sure.
I have met guys who are frustrated at the idea of having to pay for dinner even, and that there's not this sense of, okay, we'll split it down the middle on our first date, which I suppose I can understand. But if you're going in with that sense of resentment towards perhaps old-fashioned chivalry to begin with, and
Right.
you meet someone who might naturally be assuming that, then yeah, it's going to be a disaster date already off the bat. So if they come in with preconceived notions of how it should be, they're as equally at fault as what they think that the women are as well for having those expectations.
And I have to agree with you, because my advice to him was, you're coming in with a preconceived thought or how it's going to play out, or preconceived roles and that kind of thing. So I think he was setting himself up for a little bit of disappointment and unrealistic expectation around that too. Anybody here divorced? Tamara. Do you think single divorced people are viewed a little bit differently than single women dating that have never been married?
I think so.
And in what way?
Well,
In what
the
way?
first question is, are you damaged goods? So is there, excess baggage there? Everybody has
Yeah.
baggage. It's the degree
Why
to
didn't it
which,
work?
Exactly. And obviously there's myriad reasons for why people get divorced. Some is absolutely justified. Sometimes it's the best thing that could have happened to extricate yourself from a bad relationship. So I do think that puts an additional label on things, but I think it also then depends on who you end up dating or having relationships with post-divorce. If it's other people who have similar experience, then you have common denominators already, and that's actually working to your advantage. If it's somebody, as in my last relationship, who was a bit younger, for them it was red flags because
Sure.
they make assumptions about what my expectations are or bad experiences. So it can go either way.
Okay. Do you think divorced men are viewed differently?
I do, but for the same
Reasons.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. If they're dating a woman who has not been married, then she'll have probably the same questions. It also changes if there's kids involved. So I do. I think I won't say it's negative, but I do think that they're viewed differently.
Okay.
I do have a comment on
Sure.
that. Because I'm 35, so a lot of people our age, male or female, have gone through the marriage and are going through divorce or onto their second marriage. And so when I'm dating guys in their 40s, I expect them to be divorced, and if they're not, that's a red flag for me.
If they're still single
If they're still single at
in their
40,
40s.
yeah.
What's the red flag and why?
Just commitment. I see
Okay.
that as being a commitment issue. Yeah.
Okay. Do you view marriage and somebody who's come out of a long-term relationship and not married the same way?
Well, that's pretty much marriage. I mean,
Yeah.
long-term relationships,
Okay.
people,
So for a lot of, and in my experience with my private clients, people view somebody who has been married in the strictest sense of the word as opposed to dating somebody long-term a little bit differently.
I agree with that. Marriage is kind of, you want to be with that person forever, you make that vow to them, and then when it doesn't work out, there are questions to why.
Sure.
There is, but at the same time, you wonder why you stay with someone for 5 or 6 years and then it ended. I think there's always going to be those questions, but I think when you actually take the plunge and give somebody a ring, it's a little different.
Yeah, it is, and that's my experience with my clients. You guys are all friends, correct?
yes.
You all hang out together?
Yes.
Yeah.
Great. How important is your friends' opinions, each other's opinions, about who you date?
Really important.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Your friends
Very.
are a reflection of yourself in some way.
Yeah.
And if there is a red flag or there's something wrong, because they know you just as well or even better than your family. If they don't like the person, then you should, I'm not saying cut it off, but you should probably dig deeper into why they don't like them.
Okay, so you use the unbrunchable thing?
Yes.
Do you know?
Unbranchable.
Oh,
Unbrunchable, when somebody's unbrunchable? Oh, okay. Let me explain it to you. No, it's great. A client gave it to me, and feel free to take it with you. When your friends meet somebody, and you want an immediate response for what they think of them. You always say to them, "Hey, we're going to brunch on Sunday. Do you want to join us?" If they don't like them, they'll go, "Oh, you know what? We've got plans on Sunday." If they like them, they'll go, "Great. Where do you want to go?"
I love
The
it.
unbrunchable
It's
factor.
very classy. I love it.
I'll use that next time.
And most people don't have a clue. Now they will. Now they will, but it's the unbrunchable factor. But I just wanted to clarify that friends do have a huge influence on who we date and how we approach things.
Yes.
They do.
Do you guys keep each other in check all the time?
Well, not all the time. There's certain things, I mean, you have to give the benefit of the doubt that they're making the right choices in their lives. But when it comes to a head or huge red flags, you're there
Then
to support them.
You're there to.
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
watch each other's
Yeah,
back.
you also have to remember to tell your friends the bad things because you are frustrated and you vent a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And your good friends, they take that out of your perspective and they say, okay, well, just because I'm hearing the bad stuff doesn't mean there's good stuff.
Exactly,
Yeah,
and that's
true.
natural human behavior. And my experience, like I said, with my clients, if something's going wrong, whether it's dating or a relationship, people will recount it in excruciating detail.
Yeah.
If it's going well, so how are things going with, I don't know, Greg? Oh, it's great. And then you move on to something else.
I wish I had a
If
Greg.
if it's not going well, there are, verbatim conversations that you've had.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's an
In
excruciating.
detail,
Yeah, it's in detail.
crying.
We don't focus on the positive. We always focus on what's going on. I want to move on to talk about your approach to dating. And are you guys familiar with the book called The Rules?
Yes.
Sure you are. Okay. So it was a book that was published, and they're having 20 years ago, and they're having a sort of an anniversary kind of thing. And it was written by two women, Ellen Fine and Sherry Schneider. And the premise was that women should follow some guidelines, or what they call rules, in order to date men, have a relationship, and ultimately get married. Now, the title of the book is The Rules: How to Capture the Heart of Mr. Right. Operative word being capture.
Sounds
So,
interesting.
It created this furor because, number one, there was a huge backlash because the two women who wrote it weren't in any way sort of relationship professionals, like either a psychiatrist or a psychologist. So there was this huge backlash. Also, it was very insulting to women because it painted women as being very calculated, very manipulative, in order to find Mr. Right.
That's desperate.
Exactly, exactly. So one of the rules, so to give you an example, was a woman should be easy to be around but hard to get. And I wanted to get your opinion and your feedback on the approach to dating now. Are you more sort of strategic about it? I'm not saying that you're calculated or being manipulative, or do you go for like a more organic approach? You just let things happen and it's a connection and go from there and let that dictate where the relationship goes, whether it's just dating or it moves into something more serious, and then ultimately,
I think it depends on the stage of the relationship. So if it's right at the beginning, you'll have a different approach as opposed to, say, I don't want to say middle, because we always look at a relationship and hoping that there's no end of it, right? I think that I change through it. Like in the beginning when I start dating, I go for organic, and I go for if I feel that spark, if I have that
there's a connection there that you want to explore
exactly.
a little further.
But as the relationship progresses, I have a streamline of I know where I want to go and how I want to do it, and this is get on my train.
Okay, so you have a goal that you're sort of working towards.
Well, kind of, yeah.
Kind of. You have not a free fall.
Right.
It's not a just,
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
I don't know, I think both sides are pretty calculated. Like the first 6 months is the honeymoon phase, and then people see each other's true colors. So I think the whole time that's going on, there is a portion that's organic and raw, but then there's also, strategic thinking. On a first date, I'll look somebody up even before I've met them, just so I know if we have a couple interests, or
Okay.
if conversation goes south, I know that we can talk about something.
So you do a little bit of a background check.
Yeah. Oh,
So
you always have
LinkedIn,
to.
Google,
Every
Facebook,
girl does.
every girl does. Okay. Okay. Good to know.
Save some pictures, show the friend, show
Okay.
the family, future husband.
Okay. Tamara, what about you? Are you more sort of, do you have a sort of a mindset on how you would like things to go and track to that, or do you just sort of let it happen?
I let it happen. I've been told that I should be more strategic about dating.
In what way? In what way?
Like the playing hard to get, for example. But I've always led with my heart instead. And when you find a connection with people, I've always struggled with
Mhm.
reining that in. So I struggle with the being strategic and being calculated. I think it's rare to find really strong, positive connections with people of the opposite sex, where you're not just feeling like they're wanting to get you in the sack.
Sure.
So yeah, I tend to be maybe it's more old school or naive even at my age, still naive. But I like to go with the flow.
I
Well,
think,
I do.
yeah.
I love being in
I
love
do
too.
love being in love, but
Yeah.
I also I think there is so much now that is planned and mapped out, and I and in my life as well. And I when it comes to other people, I just like to see where things are going to go.
Sort of break out of that everyday mold and just
Yeah.
and let it happen. No, I agree with you. I love being in love. I mean, I think it's the best feeling in the entire world. And my opinion on it is, I think you're more natural and you're more yourself when you let things happen. And I'm not saying in today's day and age that, you shouldn't do your background work. There's a lot of people out there that are, not so nice. And that's one thing. But I think once you connect with somebody, I think letting things go a little bit more naturally lends itself to you being your real self. And I think that's what sort of fuels things forward, is being authentic and not trying or sort of going towards making someone like you or make someone fall in love with you, and then the true colors come out and you're like, ooh, where were you? Kind of thing. So I think my opinion is I like the more organic, natural approach rather than something a little bit more calculated, like the rules. But the feedback on the book was, a lot of women followed it and were successful.
So
So
you're tricking someone into liking you.
well, I think the word capturing says everything about the approach.
Capturing,
And I
locking
think
them
that's
in the basement,
yeah.
throwing away the key.
And I think that's why it received such backlash. And the fact that they weren't professionals, it wasn't based on any data or research or whatever. But I just wanted to bring up that context in terms of approach to dating. Okay, I want to move on to who uses online dating services here.
I have.
You have?
Yeah, not right now.
Not right now?
In
Tamara?
the past, I have.
In the past. So what was your experience?
So I guess it was probably 7 years ago. I tried out one of the online
Mhm.
dating sites and met a really wonderful guy. He and this is actually interesting, where the background thing. So if I had just met him in passing, I probably wouldn't have been interested. But by reading a little bit more about him online, hearing some of his jokes, chatting a little bit before we actually met face to face,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm contradicting myself. It actually led to a lovely, 8 or 9 months that we dated, and it was very positive. However, I haven't been back on online dating since.
How come?
It was exhausting, and there's still a part of me that felt like this shouldn't be how we meet people.
Okay.
And I know, again, like I've looked at Bumble, I've looked at Tinder, and it feels very inauthentic to me. It feels very surface, and
Okay.
I'm much more about the connections. So
Okay, so you're more traditional, sort of meeting through friends,
yeah.
work, social events, so on and so forth. Randine, what about yourself?
I look at online dating as hookups. There is no connection there. I mean, you're surface hunting. So whether you're attracted to that person or not, whether they're attracted to you, it's a hookup thing for me. I have not met anyone of any substance on any of those.
Okay. So Randine, your viewpoint or your opinion on online dating, is that based on your experience that you had, in the past?
Yes.
Okay, so it
Yes.
wasn't very favorable.
Not in my opinion. I
No.
mean, for what I just said,
Mhm.
like that is my personal opinion from experience.
Okay.
Uh,
Sure.
I think it's dependent on what you choose. I've done POF, Tinder, Bumble, eHarmony, LinkedIn, even though it's not considered a dating site.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things where there are people who are actually looking for love and they're looking for the same thing that you are.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also people who aren't and they're just looking for fun or a good time, and you
Yeah.
almost get tricked into someone believing they want the same things.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know, it's hit and miss. I'm gonna say it's 50-50.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you find that the profiles matched the person when you actually met?
No. And pictures
No,
didn't match the
nothing.
people either.
Okay.
90%
Well, we know
of the
Randy.
time.
It's like it's going to be a huge. But anybody that you met online,
Mine did.
did yours?
The guy that I
Yeah.
spent 8 or 9 months with, they did.
Yeah, I think a couple did, and it's one of those things, people pick the best pictures because they want to show the best side of themselves. So, you know, when you meet people, there might not be that initial, oh my gosh, he's not as attractive as I thought.
Mm-hmm.
But I think women think that, you know, it's one of those things where I'll go through and I'll read someone's profile if I'm really interested, whereas I think men just generally look at the picture and they say, okay, well, this looks nice.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, as we know, men are really visual. You know, it's a visual connection first, and you know, they read later. You know, kind of thing. So, do you think people are intentionally being dishonest to get people to
I believe that people are
connect
manipulative.
with them, or so do you go in with that mentality?
Well, of course I do from my past experiences.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you automatically think that a profile is not going to be authentic.
Yeah, and that's why I've been off online dating for 4 years.
Oh, okay. Okay. It was really interesting because last night I was watching, have you heard of the Hulu show called Casual?
Mm-mm.
Oh, it's fantastic. You have to watch it. I loved it. It is about this guy who starts an online dating company and his experience with who he meets and so on and so forth. It's really great. But the interesting point, and the reason why I'm bringing it up, is that he put up his authentic profile on his own site and got 0 connections. He manipulated it a little bit, and he had 2,146 connections after he altered it a little bit. So it's an interesting premise. It's a comedy. If you get a chance to check it out, but that's why I asked the question. So do you think? Then my next question is: do you think online dating produces a shopping mentality? And do you know what I mean about that? It's, if you haven't read my blog, please do. And I talk about this phenomena of shopping mentality around, there's too many, it's saturation. You have thousands of profiles to go through. So it's producing this grass is always greener. There's something better around the corner. So people aren't really invested in who they're dating at the time or even connecting with. So there's always something else on the shelf. Do you think that's true?
Yes.
Yeah, people are always looking for the next best thing, as bad as that sounds. I think that's the way that, I don't know, people are almost brought up nowadays. It's you always reach for what you want, and you know, I think in our society it's really easy just to date and date and date and date, and people are getting married older and it's harder to find somebody, and I think that's the reason why.
And I also think that people don't want to be alone. They always want that companionship of somebody else. So they're always scared that this relationship's not going to work. So they're always looking for that next thing so that they ensure that they're secure in that companionship.
Yeah, it's always establishing what I found, or you know, in the people that I've talked to, it's like I have a plan B. There's somebody waiting over here in case this one doesn't work out. But if you do that, how do you invest fully into the person that you've connected with and are dating? You're always sort of in my opinion, 1 foot in, 1 foot out. Do you agree?
Yes.
You know, and that's been, you know, my personal experience. I, you know, just recently was seeing somebody and seeing something on their iPad, and you know how you get notifications that somebody's looked at your profile or whatever, and we're supposed to be having a really nice time together, and meanwhile their notifications are coming up, and it was a huge red flag for me. I was like, wow, okay, well that's insulting, you know, because the next best thing is just around the corner.
We were just talking about this actually today. So a guy that I was recently dating, same sort of thing, except that whenever we were out together, he was constantly breaking his neck, checking out other girls. And I won't say there was an age difference between us, and I don't chalk it up to the age difference. I think that some men and some people are just like that in general, but it always made me feel like he was just waiting to find some other options. And almost was letting me know that consciously or subconsciously that I should have the heads up that he's keeping his options open too. So that put me in a sort of emotional place that wasn't very comfortable either throughout the whole experience.
Yeah, and personally, it sort of threw me off track a bit, and then I wasn't myself, you know, so it just kind of put everything, you know, off track, and then you're more guarded, and you think, well, you know, I'm not myself, and you've got somebody, you know, you've got like 4 or 5 people waiting in line, and
Seriously, you guys just had this sort of, you had the exact same relationship.
We did. Maybe even with the same person.
But it produces that FOMO thing, you know, fear of missing out.
Yeah.
You know, there's
That's
always something better, and I
yes.
think it's sabotaging
Yeah.
people's ability to really connect with someone and give it everything you have, focus-wise, to make sure that, you know, it's going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I think it's self-sabotaging. And then we form an opinion and we think it's the online dating world, or it's, you know, I think it's just human behavior based on the new apps and tools and sites and that kind of thing. Agree or disagree?
Agreed.
Okay. So, one sentence, what advice do you guys have for insights for single women who are out there dating? Whether they're online or they're waiting to be introduced to somebody, it doesn't matter. What would your sort of blanket advice statement be?
Good luck.
Mine would be honest and sincere. And just that you
it'll happen.
you have to put yourself out there. And being honest and sincere, all you can do is know that you're not the one that's making the bad decisions or interacting inappropriately.
Great. Right?
I would say know your worth.
Yeah.
Based on, I don't know, I've been dating for about 25 years now, and that's something actually, I should have it tattooed somewhere on me, because it's something I've struggled with, but it is a common denominator that I always have to come back to and remind myself of, is be true to yourself.
Right, right. And my blanket advice to men and women who come to me for relationship or dating, you know, help is be authentic, be true to yourself, and really focus on your self-worth. As opposed to bending for someone that you like, that you're trying to have them like you.
Screw the rules, basically, is what I'm saying.
Okay. You can toss that rule book right into the fireplace. Okay, I want to thank you all for being here and kicking off Ask Dr. Tim. I hope you enjoyed it. I think you gave our viewers and our members some great advice and some great insights and opinions. So thank you so much for being here. I want to thank everybody who's tuned in, and please send us your comments and feedback. And next week, I'm going to be talking about love interruptus. Has technology, or is technology, sabotaging our relationships? Thanks for watching, and I look forward to connecting to you soon.